Hi everyone. Today I'm making a recipe from this fabulous 50s collection cookbook. It was given to me a while back by my friend here and neighbor, Merle, so thank you very much, Merle. We made recipes on this channel from it before, and they were wonderful, and you guys seem to like it, so I'm going to make some more. This is what I'm making, meatball stroganoff over rice. So let's get started at this. Okay, the recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I am just using 1 pound, but everything else I'm keeping the same. Okay, this is meatball stroganoff, and it's going to be over rice. So it calls for an egg that's been beaten. Okay. I'm just mixing the egg through a bit before I add the breadcrumbs. Okay, 1/3 cup of plain breadcrumbs, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire. Now just salt and pepper. Nothing fancy here. If you want, you can jazz it up with some garlic powder and whatnot. I'll leave that up to you, but I'm just going with the recipe. 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to wash my hands. Okay. And it says to add Crisco oil to your pan to fry up your meatballs, but I'm just going to use some cooking oil.
Unknown roads and foreign places that we're traveling through. We could drive round in circles. Any place will do.
Make them whatever size you want. I'm going like about a golf ball size.
In our car's review. And crowds are
my tap grain bought me. It's hands-free, so I can wash my hands and turn the camera off.
stray away from the avenue. Stray away from the avenue. Getting lost is time not wasted, as long as it's with you.
So I cleaned out most of the oil out of the pan, and I left some of the bits from the meat in there. And I'm adding 227 grams of sliced up mushrooms. So about a 1/2 pound. And I'm going to saute those until they're nice and golden. I'm adding a little bit more of the drippings in the pan, from the pan back in. Okay, neighbors, remember at the beginning of the video I said I was going to stick to the recipe? I lied. Because it calls for a can of condensed beef broth, which I don't have. I have beef broth, better than bouillon, so I made like the same amount. I'll put it across the screen, the milliliters and ounces. And I made just that amount in that kind of beef broth. It also calls for a teaspoon of ketchup. But we made this sauce before, my hubby and I, and we liked it with a little bit more ketchup, so we used 2 tablespoons. And it calls for a 1/2 envelope of dried onion soup mix. I'm adding that to the liquid because I want the onions in the soup mix to hydrate a bit, because I find that they don't get soft enough in the dish because it doesn't take long simmering it, the sauce. It also calls for a cup of sour cream. I'm using a full fat sour cream, so it's nice and thick. And I'm just going to set this aside. I can't talk. I'm back in talk words. And I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour to the mushrooms now that they are all golden brown. And I'm going to cook the rawness out of the all-purpose flour. And that only take like 30 seconds to a minute, something like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the sauce to the mushrooms, incorporate it well. Probably use my little whisk and mix that about. And when it starts to bubble a bit, I'm going to add back the meatballs. And I'm going to turn it down. Once it's bubbling, I'm going to turn it down to a simmer with the meatballs in it. And I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to let the meatballs heat through and the sauce thicken up, probably like 5 to 7 minutes. But I'll put the original, like step-by-step, like that they gave, the recipe in the description box. I'll write it up as the recipe says for you all. And what else? But I can put down the notes, like a little note of the changes that I did. And yeah, make it your own though, because it's really, really good. Spoiler alert, it's delicious. So let's get back into the video here.
If there is a warm cup of coffee, if there is a laugh to share, it's with you. In morning light, you hear my story. Oh, and it's good to have a friend like you.
I should have thought about just putting a streak of it down the center of the rice so you can see the rice, and it would look better. But anyway, it's tasty, I know. I'll have a little tasty poo. A little bit of rice and a meatball and some mushrooms. I only cook, it's good for 4 cups of rice. I only cook like 3. So 1.5 uncooked to make 3 cups of rice. Which reminds me, I just did how to make the perfect rice on the stovetop. Just did a video on it, and I'll link it. Let's have this meatball. Now, there wasn't a lot of stuff, as you saw in the meatball, but the sauce makes up for that. You could jazz it up the way you want. Make it your own. Delicious. Thanks, Merle. Very good. You gotta make it. Peace, love, God bless. Bye.